my pleasure to introduce Nyesha Stone, founder of Carved in Stone. We're so glad to partner with her with this event. Yes, come in on the song.
Hold on, if y'all know the song, yeah. Hey y'all, how y'all doing tonight? Yeah. My name is Nyesha Stone, and this is my very first event in Atlanta. So thank y'all so much for showing up. Yeah. So my company, Carved in Stone, we have been around for a decade covering positive news. We started in Milwaukee and we have grown to Atlanta and around the country. And earlier this year we went to Tokyo. So we global, baby. We global. Woo! So right now you're here for the Successful Black Women in News panel. And the reason I started this is because as black women, we make the world move. And sometimes we don't always get the spotlight that we deserve. And throughout my journalism career, I thought it was very important to build relationships with other black women and black media. And so for me to be able to provide this platform means so much to me. So if we could just clap it up for the panelists before I invite them up here. Yeah. So I'm going to have a seat, and then I'm going to do each of their bios. And as I say your bio, just come around. I think on this side would be the easiest way for y'all to come up here. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? All right. Oh, also, please take the snacks. If y'all leave me with the snacks, y'all gonna get a different Nyesha. Oh, and if y'all can, please make sure to follow Carved in Stone on Instagram. You know they care about impressions more than they care about impact. All right. Let's do the first panelist. Samantha Dorisca is an award-winning journalist at AfroTech, where she covers technology, entrepreneurship, education, and innovation. She has written more than 3,000 articles and has been recognized as a Black Tech Saturday's Future 100 awardee and one of the 2026 25 Dope Thinkers to watch. Please welcome Samantha. Tierra Smith is an award-winning journalist, speaker, and social media strategist who is passionate about uplifting the voices and women and marginalized communities. She used to serve as a social media editor for Black Enterprise and also is the founder of her own company, Wins for Black Girls, a platform dedicated to sharing positive news about Black women. Please welcome Tierra. Nikki Foreman is a communications and brand leader with experience spanning corporate America, government, and philanthropy. She currently leads Amazon's growth audience team and previously served as Deputy Director of Communications and Press Secretary for Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. Please welcome Nikki. Yeah. Shout out to Nikki. That's how I've been working with Amazon. Don Montgomery is a media professional, entrepreneur, and cultural commentator with more than 2 decades of experience. She previously served as the first chief brand officer of where we're at right now, the Atlanta Voice, and now serves as a culture critic for Black Press USA, supporting the work of more than 200 Black newspapers nationwide. Please welcome Don. Hey, Dad. My dad just walked in. Get some snacks, have a seat. Are y'all ready for a good conversation? I am going to open it up to the audience, so please get ready for your questions. I'm going to have specific questions for you all, but I want to start with the group. So whoever wants to go first. For you, what does it mean to be a Black woman in today's media? Go ahead, pick up the mic, whoever.
I can start. I'm the non-journalist in the room right now, but I think to be among these giants that are really moving conversations forward on behalf of Black communities, Black culture, Black content, I think is really important. So to be a person that has the opportunity to work across the board with these storytellers is really an honor. And I think it's really important for us to recognize how difficult it can be at times to be the only person in the room, to have difficult days where you are having to fight for things that you shouldn't have to fight for. But I do think it's an honor, and I see it as a responsibility and an opportunity.
Can I add something in real quick? I was at NABJ in Chicago 2024. Oh, can I have a napkin? Yes. Over here sweating. But I was at the NABJ in Chicago, and usually, you know, when you go to a career fair, you're looking for a job. I went up to their booth and was like, I want y'all to be my client. And the person at the booth was like, well, you need to go see this person, this person. It ended up being Nikki. And because of her, and she not only helped me, but she's helped so many black journalists and so many black media be able to be seen by Amazon. So I just want to thank you for seeing me, even without all the impressions.
So I guess for me, being on both sides, whether it's in C-suite media leadership or being an actual journalist and or being someone who consumes it, right? On top of it being a responsibility, it is technically our birthright to be who we are, right? And to really stand in that. And I think the most beautiful thing about being just black and then being a black woman is just how we show up for others, right? So we generally consider our community at all times consistently. And I think within this space of media, we show up differently because we understand various voices. Like we're not like shutting off people sometimes, because a lot of times in certain conversations you'll see people not think about everyone involved or both sides, like a both and situation. So I think that that's been the beauty of what I've been doing in order to get to the point of being a culture critic, somebody who can look at all sides and really kind of point out like, hey, let me show you another angle or another perspective of this that you haven't considered. And most people are like, well, I didn't think black people thought like that. Are you serious? So I think it's our birthright to really show up in that and own that.
Y'all can clap if y'all want. Just saying, just saying.
Yeah, I feel very similarly. Because when I was like resonating on the question, I was like, it just feels like the right thing to do, showing up in these spaces, telling these stories that deserve to be told, shouldn't be like underrepresented. So for me, I feel like excited to be showing up in these spaces, to be telling stories that maybe might be overlooked. So for me personally, I feel on fire. I feel excited. I feel good.
Yes. I think for me, I feel unapologetic. Like, I went to Grambling State University and everybody there was black. So I didn't necessarily feel like the spotlight of being black was like different or wrong or anything like that. But as soon as I started to leave that safety and go into other spaces, that's when I started to feel different or feel seen or not seen. Like, I would speak to people and they wouldn't speak back. And I'm like, dang, you don't see me? So just being okay with that and not letting that dim my light, because when people treat you a certain type of way, you think something's wrong with you and you get to try to change yourself, and really just being unapologetic about that. Like, I am who I am. I report the way I report. I ask the questions the way I ask them, and that's okay. Because even when I look back and listen back to my interviews, it'll be nothing I would want to do different. I wouldn't come up with a different question. I wouldn't have said it any differently. So I just have to learn to trust myself and know that the best self is always coming into the room. And that's being beautifully black, okay?
Well, she said that, you know, which I'll be clock it. So, Sierra, going back to you, can you talk about what it's like having an independent news company, but then also when you were working for organizations like Black Enterprise, like what makes you stay in traditional news, but then what also makes you want to start your own thing as well, and how do you manage it?
I mean, it's really about opportunity. What opportunity do you want and what opportunity is in front of you? You know, Black Enterprise was in front of me at the moment, so I think of it as like my biggest client. That means they got to get most of my attention, they got to get most of my energy, but also balancing that with the things that I want to do. And in different seasons, that may look different. I might only write one article on the side or make one reel on the side, but in another season, I got 3 or 4. You know, so just really maximizing on the opportunity, because not all opportunities are going to last forever. So when I was at Black Enterprise, I knew there was always a ticking clock on that because of the industry. Nothing is promised. So how can I maximize what I'm doing right here, but also maximize what could be coming up next? And I feel like I got the momentum that I have right now because I just didn't wait on Black Enterprise to give me opportunities. While they was writing checks, they was the ones providing opportunities. But as soon as that dried up, it's time to keep moving and keep broaching. So that's how I think about it. You got to do both at the same time.
How many people in the room are doing their own independent thing, even if you still have a full-time job?
Amen.
Y'all better do it. Y'all better do it.
And they can't tell me no. Like, when it's mine, it's whatever I think. It's my ideas. And the beautiful thing about that is before I worked at Black Enterprise, I had a season of entrepreneurship when I was doing my own thing, building my own clients and having my own events and telling my own stories. And so when I applied to that job, that proposal and that cover letter and all of that was the stuff that I was doing on myself. So it was my most authentic self, and that's who they appreciated. So it allowed me to be myself even more when I got into that position, because I was like, y'all like what I was doing, so I'm gonna just keep doing what I was doing.
Yes, never change who you are, no matter what they say. Oh, go ahead, Nikki.
So just because you asked that question, if anybody is interested, I definitely want to make sure y'all get my email address afterwards. One of the big things that we like to do is work with independent storytellers. And so we have... whoever...
She with Amazon, so make sure y'all talk to her.
Yeah, come in. Let me make sure. I'll put my email address somewhere so everybody can get it. I really will respond. Ask Nyesha. I'm very responsive. And if I'm not available, I will let you know. But I do think it's very important for people to recognize the strength in your storytelling, and do not get discouraged. If you feel that maybe you are at the beginning or you're not getting calls back, don't give up. I promise you, there's another Nikki sitting in another corporate office or in another space where there's funding flowing that allows your business, your stories, your voice to be heard. And so I just wanted to encourage you, just like what she just said, you don't give up. Do not lose the authenticity of who you are. The way that Nyesha and I worked together, the first thing, she was like, how do you want me to do this? I said, do it the way that you do it. Here are some opportunities and stories that you want to tell. Tell them the way that you want to tell them. And that's what we've been doing. And so I just really want to encourage everybody who rose their hand and make sure you get my email before we leave today.
And make sure y'all reach out. Like, no one's going to create the opportunity for you. I think that's one thing I've learned about entrepreneurship, being independent, is ain't nobody going to open up the door for you sometimes, but they're going to crack it like that much and then try to close it as soon as you're about to go in the door. So even if you do you reach out to her, have something to reach out to about. A lot of times people are like, I want to work with this person, I want to do this. And when you present it with the opportunity, what do you have to offer? So make sure you have some value and something to offer. Sammy, I want to go to you. Over 3,000 articles. Over 3,000 articles for AfroTech. I think you interviewed more people than me. So for you, what has your journey been like? Because you went the traditional route. So what does that look like for you? And also on the side, she does photography as well. So,
So like my day-to-day, or just generally?
Just like overall, like your journalism, like career, just going that traditional route.
For me, like, it's going really well. Like, I'm kind of a big believer in like stewarding what you have. So I know for me, I didn't have like a traditional entryway. I didn't necessarily go to school for this. Thought I would be a lawyer. COVID happened and I did a lot of shifts, but I always like writing and I like people. And I think photography is because photography is like, you have to talk to people. So I kind of like merged the worlds and ended up in journalism. Didn't think I'd be in business and technology, to be transparent. But I did like a 48-hour fast. I didn't wear makeup, fake hair, didn't leave my room except to drink water. And I know a week from that fast, I went on Twitter and I saw my editor was like, oh, we're looking for new writers over at AfroTech. And I was like, what a coincidence, because I had not been, I think it was like 3 years of a standstill with some unpaid internships. And so I ended up applying with the resumes that I had, and I got it. I don't think I was the most qualified out of everyone who submitted, but you know that whole phrase, God qualifies the called? That was definitely my story. So I feel like when you pray for something, you should steward it well. So I think that's why I have really more than 3,500 stories. It's because, one, I'm really passionate about telling stories in the Black community. And two, like I said, I did pray to be here. So it's like I really want to make sure, like, when this is all said and done, like, God is pleased. So I think for me, it really goes back to God, to be transparent with y'all. And then, of course, my relentless mission to, like, amplify our community. So, yeah.
Funny thing is, this is me and Sammy's first time meeting in person. I think we met like on LinkedIn or something, and I called her. That was like 3 years ago, and we've been talking like ever since then. So she came here from my panel, and so when they're talking about like relationships, like it's very important, especially to build with one of another. Like Issa Rae said it best: build across, because there's so much that we can do for one another. And so I appreciate you all for being here. Don, I want to stay on the topic of independent media. Can you talk about, you sold your company? What the heck that look like? They be saying you can't make no money in the business, so talk to me about the money.
Right. I think the beauty of the trajectory of my career and how the Atlanta Voice came into play was I started at Atlanta Voice about 2016. Etora, am I right? 2017, okay? Because we started at the same time.
Fact check.
Right. In real time. As a sports editor. And so at the time, Mrs. Ware was like, I want to see more coverage across all, verticals and things like that. And we're in Atlanta. Like, why isn't a publication present at some of the top sports teams, or why aren't we getting credentialed? So I was like, okay, Miss Ware, are you sure you want to do that? Because if they tell me no, I'm going to go online and I'm going to drag these teams until they give us a credential. And if you know Miss Ware, her personality is completely different than mine. And Miss Ware gave me a little room. She let me do what I needed to do, and it actually worked. It only took one tweet per team, like to the point to where it was like the Braves was like, what do you want? And I say that because what that did is on the side I was already building, to your point. Like I was already doing. That's how they saw the work that I was doing in sports. And I brought, eToro with me. I brought other people with me that wanted to do work in sports. And that's what we came in the door doing. Well, within 6 months of me being in my position and maybe working through a football season, Ms. Ware came back to the table and was like, we need her in a bigger position, because from a leadership standpoint, she brought in a team, and we need her to kind of rise up and work in the newsroom a different way. So I became a managing editor within 6 months. Now, if you work in news, that doesn't happen that quickly, right? It takes some time. So within that, my business was building, it was growing and all the things. And so me being in that position for about 2 years, eventually I had to come to Miss Ware and say, hey, my business is growing and I'm having to travel more. I'm not gonna be in the city. And so she gave me room to really do that work and also partner with the Atlanta Voice when I stepped away, right? Because at the end of the day, Black press has always been at the bottom, at the top, in the middle. When I walk in the room, you're supposed to know that I work with Black Press USA. You're supposed to know that I work with the Black newspapers across the country. And that's just how I've always been. And so at the time, around when COVID hit, I was at a crossroads, because I remember calling eToro. I remember calling a couple of people who worked at the Atlanta Voice at the time. And I remember saying, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. I do want to sell it, but I don't know how to do that. And I think I put out maybe a good 5 tweets. There were 2 graduates from Georgia Tech who reached out to me, a white guy and an Asian guy. Wasn't the investors I was looking for, the people that I was looking for to buy the company, because it's Black owned, but they came to me with a different proposition where it was like, we've seen the teams that you've worked with. We can't get contacts with them. They're not letting us in the room. Now imagine a white guy and a white Asian guy, or an Asian guy, looking at you saying they can't get in the rooms that you're in. I can sell this to you. That's the next thing I said. I was like, so how much do you have? And it only took us maybe 8 or 9 months to kind of go back and forth, because at first they completely lowballed me. It was like, we'll give you $10,000 for your list of contacts. Absolutely not. I was like, do you understand? I have worked with ESPN, SEC Network, Big Ten Network. I've worked with all of the major pro teams. I've gone to every arena, stadium, all of the things. Like, I've hit those marks. I've even covered Penn State relays. If anybody knows the seriousness and how important that is for Olympics coverage, to cover the Penn State relays, a lot of Black-owned media have not even stepped into that space. And I did that. So you have to give me a 6-figure number. And when I said 6 figures, they were like, whoa, we got to go get some sponsors, or we got to get some people to invest in this. And they came to the table with a group of people who did not look like me. We threw around numbers for a couple of hours. They catered food. I wasn't leaving out of there. I even had them cater. Y'all know 6 Feet Under? I love me some 6 Feet Under. Yes, I want the whole menu. They ordered everything. Y'all, I was eating that day. And by the end of the day, I want to say it was like 7:35. I remember that because my children were texting me, wanting me to come home. We agreed to a number, and they only took a portion of where it was information, data, contacts, as well as just leveraging some of my relationships. I had to introduce them to some of my big contacts first and get them in the door and let them know that we had a relationship and we had been working together. And over that 9 months, I actually understood that they weren't just trying to take from a black woman. They were actually trying to pay me for what I had done that they didn't want to do. Does that make sense, right? So the fact that I had already put in all those years and created those contacts, they paid me for that. Oh, baby, I took care of my team. When I got that check, I said, oh, everybody that was down with me, you got to get a little something. You get something. You get something. So doing something like that was really challenging because I think there's not a lot of people that talk about selling their companies or working with other companies that invest in them specifically, especially on the 6-figure mark. And to really show up and say, I'm not going to give you my whole company. I'm not going to give you the name, but I can sell the data to you. Because the data is what you really need. That's what you wanted. You wanted the contacts. You wanted the angles, the relationships that I had with Nike or Reebok or Under Armour. You wanted all of that. And for a lot of people, they don't like this. If you send this out, this will probably be the first time that somebody actually knows like the details of that. Like I've talked about it on Butternomics podcast, but me really saying this out loud, like I'm even still amazed that I was able to do that. And I did it during COVID. I did it during a time when people really didn't want to be in each other's faces. It was a difficult time. A lot of people that's in this room know what I was going through personally. I just had a little girl. I almost died from having her. So the fact that I was negotiating something that was about to change my life as well as other people who work with me was huge.
You better clap it up for that. I'm gonna come back to the finances because I feel like it's NABJ week, and one thing they always tell us ain't no money in the industry. It's so much money, so much money. So Nikki, you are in corporate. How do you stay yourself while also bringing up people like me and people on this panel in your work?
Ooh, that's a good question. A lot of prayer. A lot of prayer and a lot of introspection. I have seen myself evolve and grow since I started doing PR. I actually started out as a journalist for about 6 months, and I realized quickly this is not for me. Actually, there's a person in the room. We used to work together back in the day, and it just wasn't for me. I pivoted into PR, and I haven't looked back. And so now working for one of the world's largest employers, I get to see things in a really different way. But I do count it all joy, and I think of it as an opportunity and a responsibility to make sure that I'm representing people well. But it does come with its challenges because there are many times when I'm the only person in the room thinking about why we should do something this way or say something this way or consider who to bring in or consider what outlets to reach out to and things of that nature. But what I've learned, because it's very easy to get offended and want to have your fists in the air and be really upset about stuff. But what I've learned is there are multiple ways that you can get things done. And sometimes you have to lead with grace and empathy. And what I see oftentimes with my colleagues in particular is that not all of them have malicious intent. Some people are just really uninformed and they need somebody that can be patient with them enough to say, all right, I hear you, but let's think about this another way and not make them feel bad about it, right? Because then you build relationships, you build friendships. And I think the only way that I've been able to earn trust across the business is because I have not made people feel bad when they don't do something that is really culturally competent, right? I feel like that's one of the things. You've got to be able to reach across the aisle, like you were mentioning what Issa Rae said. It doesn't just work just for us as Black people, because we need allies. We need people who are going to be on our side. We may not be the ones with the biggest budgets, but because of the relationships we're willing to build, they may be able to say, oh, hold on, let me run you a couple coins so that you can do what you need to do. But that doesn't happen if you have to correct and you're fighting and you're always angry because things are not the way that you know that they need to be. There are plenty of days when I am sitting on my hands in meetings or biting my tongue till it bleeds sometimes, just to keep myself from saying things. But I also have to think about the bigger picture. And when I lead teams, I always ask them up front, what's your why? Why are you here? Why do you want to work on this particular project or on this particular team? Because if you don't have a why, then you're going to be misguided and you're going to be flying in the flapping in the wind, and you're never going to be able to get recentered, and anything can take you off course. And so oftentimes we have to make sure that we are rethinking about our why in every room, especially when you are dealing with something difficult. And so my time at Amazon, it didn't start as me doing the work that I'm doing right now. I started out doing PR for the East Coast, but I saw what was possible and I realized what the vision could be, but I had to lay the foundation and lay the groundwork. And so the job that I actually have at Amazon, which I really appreciate, I created. This job did not exist. This budget did not exist. This team did not exist. And I've been able to have exponential growth over the last few years, and be in a position now where I can bring others along. But it took time where I had to be the only one in the room, and I had to quietly plant the seeds around why we should be working more closely with Black journalists and Black media, and spending dollars with Black outlets, and sponsoring NABJ, and now sponsoring NAHJ, and working closely with Hispanic media and women-owned media and LGBTQ plus media. But those conversations, they may not happen as fast as we want them to. But if you trust the process and you know that God is giving you a vision, you just got to be patient and just continue to do the work. Do not give up. One of my favorite scriptures is, don't get weary in well doing. You will reap a harvest if you faint not. And so it's those of us who are willing to just keep going and trust the process, knowing that you are going to be able to see greater on the other side. It may be hard in the in-between, but I promise you, do not give up, because that vision that was put inside of you, that thing that you know you're supposed to be doing, it will all come to pass. Now, that being said, make sure that vision is coming from it's a vision that's supposed to be for you. So you can't, for me, I've always, you look at people, you're like, man, she's doing great, or he's doing great, or this is happening well for them. That's their vision, that's their plan, that's their timeline, right? So don't start tiptoeing over trying to do what they're doing, because that's not the vision and the plan that was for you. That's like me saying, yeah, I'm about to go try out for the Lakers next week. So, put me in the game, coach. No, that's not the plan that was laid out for me. And so you walk in your purpose, you stay connected to your why, and you just don't give up. Have the tenacity to keep moving forward. And I think all things are possible.
I definitely want to add to that. Man, this journey has been crazy. I cannot believe I'm sitting here at the Atlanta Voice hosting an event. I started my company when I was a college student. I started in Milwaukee because I hated how they covered the Black community. You know how many people told me positive news wouldn't make it so far, and now people are begging for positive news? Yes. Sometimes you have a vision that other people just cannot understand, and you will go home and cry. Like, why don't they understand? Why can't they see me? There are many times my bank account has went red. There are many times where I'm sitting, Tierra, no, we on the red carpet. Why they ain't coming to talk to us? We got here. We invited too. We on the carpet too. And so through all of that, do not give up on yourself, and surround yourself with people who can pour into you when you can't. Don called me yesterday. I texted her. I said, I'm nervous. I don't think people going to show up every event. I'm like, I don't think no one going to show up. I'm like, we in a new environment.
You got a full room.
Yeah. With plans. Like, girl.
And my daddy here, so I'm super excited. I'm pretty sure I'm going to cry sometime tonight. And my mentee, Afia here, this is her first time at NABJ. Shout out to her. So I just want to say that whatever you have, no matter what you're going through, personal or business-wise, please do not give up on yourself. Do not give up. Because if you give up, why would somebody else believe in you? If every day you can wake up and just do one little thing, sometimes that may be going back to bed. Sometimes I will literally stop everything and go make myself a meal. You have to do things that pour into yourself, because how can you pour from an empty cup? And that's something I really am still teaching myself. I'll be 30 on the 30th this year. But this month on my 30th. And one thing I want for myself is to give myself more grace. I do not give myself more grace. I feel like I should be a millionaire. I feel like I should be having all these things. But it's like, but what about my impact right now? Think about what you're doing right now and why. I think there we go. Right now, hey, everybody that just walked in, get some snacks, get some water, y'all. But right now it's NABJ. I just want to clap it up for that. Yes. Look at all these beautiful black people in this room. Shout out to the white people in here too, y'all. I see y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey. So my question for y'all: you starting your career all over, right? What would you do differently, specifically as you're preparing for NABJ?
Nothing. I started going to NABJ when I was a freshman in college, and that was over 15 years ago. And every point of the matter makes sense today. Like it might have didn't make sense then, but everything was for my good. Even the worst of the worst to the best of the best, I wouldn't change anything. Because if I went back, I'd probably make a mistake. It wouldn't come out this good, you know? Only thing I could do is just trust myself more and save more money. That's the only thing I would go back and do is save just 10%. If I would have just saved 10% of everything, I would have a lot more today. So outside of saving money, I would have made the same decisions because I'm satisfied with God has put me. And if I try to go back, I might do some, I don't know. So by the grace of God, I'm here. So I'm just thankful, you know, like I don't think we should focus on what could have happened and what didn't happen because it all works out for our good. So I don't think I would have changed anything.
Okay.
That's a good answer. I feel like I should say that, but I'll be honest. Is this in the context of NABJ, or you just mean? Because I've
Answer how you want to answer it, girl.
okay. I know when I first got into media, I'll be honest, I used to like hate being on camera. I used to hate taking photos of myself. Like I know my first interview, I was sweating in my armpits, my hands were shaking. So I had to really overcome a lot in media, and I am comfortable like amplifying other people and just kind of staying hidden. But I realized I really had to like pray against that. So if there's anything I would do differently is to not be shy, timid, to be okay with like sharing my voice, sharing my personality, sharing my testimony. That's probably the only thing that I would do differently, to be honest.
I don't think that I would do anything. Knowing what I know today, I'm grateful for the path that I've had. I've had the opportunity to have my little short stint in media, but I've worked in local government, I've worked in global philanthropy, and now work for a global company. And I think that every stepping stone prepared me for where I am today. And I think that our journeys are a testimony to help other people, and our testimonies are not meant just for us, they're meant for other people, for us to bless other people. And so I think in terms of looking back, I'm grateful for the rooms that I have had the opportunity to be in. There have been many days where I've wanted to give up or just quit or just go to bed and be like, I'll deal with this tomorrow. But there are some days where you got to push yourself out of the bed, do what you need to do, so that you can continue to pursue the calling that's on your life. And so I don't think I would change a thing, actually.
If I would have changed something, I would have been governor of Mississippi right now. But we see what's going on there. Listen, but I think what my trajectory changed my junior year of high school, being in South Mississippi. I had a mentor that came into the school and introduced me to something that was called Presidential Classroom in the White House, and I was able to go. And so I, in my mind, knew I was going to be in politics, right? And so it took me going to the White House, doing this internship through Presidential Classroom, and then I got invited back to be like a Senate page, right? Let me tell you something. The stuff I saw on that Senate floor when there was no TVs and no social media was a mess. But what I will say is that I learned in that moment that because I was in that room or in that space and there was no cameras, there was no phones. Of course, during that time, social media is just now ramping up about 2001, 2002. Literally, I saw in that moment, I'm about to go call my mom and them, and I'm writing everything I saw. And one of the first stories that I won an award on was me talking about my internship in the White House. And that right there was what took me. I was like, oh, I'm writing about everything I see. I'm talking about everybody. So to me, me knowing that, and then my first NABJ happened my freshman year at Fort Valley State University. I went there for about a year, but we all know NABJ happens, around this time in August. Well, we were just moving into our dorms. and I had to get permission to leave. And I was an out-of-state freshman, as well as I was just voted freshman class president. And they were like, if we give you permission to leave, you got to take some students with you, right? Because I had got a sponsor. And so that was my first time advocating for other people to be able to go do something like that. And so again, I was reaffirmed, this is the path that you need to take, no matter where life takes you, because I've shared majority of my story, but in general, I'm able to do that because I've always been affirmed in showing up as my authentic self and really just being honest about what got me from point A to point B and point C and D. So yeah, I can't change a thing because I wouldn't be sitting here talking about some of the things that I've done, or I wouldn't be able to meet some of the people that I've met along the way, and I wouldn't have been able to do the work that I did if I did change it.
No regrets. That's what I'm hearing. No regrets. For me, I definitely would change having more confidence in myself. Yes, I feel like I always, yes. Oh, hold on, we gotta fix the sound, y'all. Y'all feeling all right? Yeah. We still got some water and stuff over there. I need a table. Hello? Sorry, y'all. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah. Water. Are we good to go? We good to go? All right, cool. Thank y'all. One thing I would change is having more confidence in myself. I let too many people, and even people that look like me, tell me I wasn't enough. I have been in rooms where honestly other black women have told me, you not gonna make it. This not for you. I've had old friends tell me, hey, you may not be as big as you think you're gonna be. And I would go home and I would cry. And as I'm crying, guess what? I'm still working on my business. So I would literally take that anger and put it into the business. And so I would say, never, never let nobody dim your light. They just jealous because they ain't doing it. That's really all it is. Why couldn't they think of it? And now that I realize that, oh, I'm stepping every time. Like, I'm going to stand in who I am, and I'm also going to bring people along with me. I think that's very important because we have women like Dawn and like Nikki who see me and make sure that I have what I need. And if I call them like, hey, something going on, they're like, all right, how do we figure this out? So now to all the young black media that are in the room, what advice would you give to them to how to keep going in the industry? Because it could be mentally draining. Sometimes you don't have the finances. You may want to switch out of journalism to PR because I dabble in PR as well. So yeah, I would love for any advice that you have, especially for over here. We got some young stars over here. Yes. So what advice would you give to them?
I think the most important thing is community. Like, I think NABJ is community. You know, once you have a relationship here, you can stick with it when you leave here. So when the days when you feel like giving up, the days that you want to cry, the days you have an idea but you don't know how to work through it because you're like, I know this is a good idea, but let me talk this out with somebody else before I bring it to the newsroom, and then they ask me 100 questions that I know the answer to, but I'm not prepared to answer. So I think community is everything. Like, once you find a community of people who see you, support you, and want to see you win, then it's really hard for you not to. Like, when I put my chin down, you're going to lift it back up. And I'm going to do the same for you. And I think the second thing is God. So you got to lean on him for sure.
Yeah, I agree with her. I'm really big on community. I know one of my girls, Shanique, is in the room. When I entered the industry, she was like one of the first people that I like connected with, and that's made such a difference in my journey, is having somebody who can understand. So I encourage you guys to have community, people you can talk to, vent to when you're having your low moments, because I've definitely had my own share. And also too, I'm also a photographer, so I'll also be transparent. I've always had like an additional stream of income, so that's kind of helped me not have a scarcity mindset. I'm not saying we have to do all the things, but that has also been like a nice cushion for me too in the industry, as I was already a photographer. And also, yes, God, because I feel like, especially in today's landscape, the industry is changing. People are also losing jobs, so it's kind of can be really discouraging. But I've also, for me, I have to really have tunnel vision with God, and also know the industry might be saying this, but God has this for me. So I feel like I don't accept like what I see for my own reality, but that's only by staying like anchored with God and believing that I'm gonna have the things that He's called me to have. So definitely don't forget God in this journey. We need Him.
One other thing I want to say is, like, as a journalist, it can be very easy to make your whole identity being a journalist. Oh, thank you. We are way more than just journalists. So thinking about like the things that I love, I have a list of things that bring me joy. And so when I'm having a bad day, I know I can watch a women's basketball game. That's going to make my mood better. Working out, hot yoga. So I think like we are more than just journalists. And so when we think outside of what other things we like, it can find joy and creativity and passion that'll help keep you on the days where everything else is not going the way you want it to.
All right, I'm going to keep it from a business perspective. I think Nyesha hit on it really well earlier. Your contacts and your community are very important, but follow through is even more important. You cannot catch somebody's email or get someone's LinkedIn and then decide that you're not going to follow up. And so I've met a lot of people, very few. Nyesha was very bold. I bet she was consistent. She has been exceptionally consistent. But that is what it takes sometimes. If you really believe in what you have to say and the partnerships that you want to create, sometimes people may not follow up with you. That's just the real. I know that people probably have maybe 100 no's, but it's that one yes that you just got to keep asking and reaching out for, right? And so from the business perspective for me, when someone says that they have a time for you and they're available for you, make the most of that time. Do not come. I've had people who I have made time for, and we get on a call, and they're like, so what do you want to talk about? This is your time, because I'm going to give you maybe 2 more minutes to figure it out, and then I've got other things to do. And it's not being arrogant, but I've had to learn over time how to make sure that I am being a steward of my own personal time and space. And so whenever you have an idea or something and you get that space and time, do the work before you get on that call or in that room or in that meeting, and know what you want to talk about, have a clear point of view, and have done your research on whoever it is that you're going to be talking to know what it is that's going to resonate with them. And so that's one of the biggest pieces of advice that I can give folks, especially as you're pitching your ideas and the things that you want to do. And then lastly, I would say think outside of the box, right? You may want to talk about, I don't know, fashion and beauty, but the opportunity is in front of you to talk about, I don't know, data centers and animals. I don't know. Be able, if that is within your, if that's within your comfort level, to think outside of the box on what opportunity looks like, and it doesn't have to fit exactly into the scenario and picture that you want. Sometimes those doors that open, they're great ones. You don't even realize how good of an opportunity there may be in front of you. And I'm not saying take every opportunity, but be a little bit flexible as you're starting your journey and you're working with partners. They may not have exactly what you're looking for in that moment, but there may be opportunities that come. Actually, I have one more thing. Have a little bit of humility. I meet a lot of people who have very inflated egos, and I think you should have high self-esteem. You should think the most of yourself, but there are some folks who come with a sense of arrogance that is not healthy, especially if you're working with corporate partners. And so if you are getting the opportunity to have a seat at the table, to get your foot in the door, I hate to say it this way, it's an unfortunate truth, but we represent each other in these rooms. And so sometimes one person's behavior can really wreck it for the rest of us. And so I'm not saying that you have to shoulder everyone's attitudes and everyone's behaviors and the way that they carry themselves, but I would be mindful of it, because sometimes you're not gonna get Nikki. You might get Nikki's colleague who's giving you one chance, and then it's over for everybody. I'm not saying it's right, but it happens. It's the reality. So I would just say be mindful of how you carry yourself, and think about the people who you are also carrying into that room when you go.
Don, before you answer, I just gotta share a quick story that happened to me today about, making sure, like, when you come to a meeting, like, you have something to talk about. So I went to the career fair today, and I had signed up for some interviews yesterday just because I'm just opening myself up. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for like 8-9 years. I feel like I have a lot of energy. So I had an interview with, I'm not gonna say the company, right? Not only were they late, they came down and was like, I don't even know why I'm here. I swear to God. They literally sat down and was like, they literally, and it's a big company. It's one of them, I can point it out, and they red. But I literally sat down with them, and he literally just laughed in my face the whole time and was just like, yeah, let me just get your email. So even sometimes on the flip side, you're going to meet with people, you may be prepared. Just make sure you're always prepared and you hold yourself. Because I was able to control the interview, and I was like, well, you can, and I actually ended up ending it. And I was like, well, thank you, you have a great day. And all he could do was literally laugh because he didn't even know why he was there. So always know why you're there and what value you have to bring. Because sometimes people don't even know, they can't even think straight. So I'll let you go down.
Yeah. You gonna have to tell me who that was. I want to know. I want to give a quick shout out real quick to some people in the room before I say what I'm fixing to say, because they know I mean this. There are 2 former Atlanta Voice interns in here sitting to my left, and they still work in media, have their masters, all the things, my girls there. And then there's Randy and Miss Lynn Jones. Where are y'all at? Okay, Jacksonville Free Press.
Oh, wait. Clap it up for Lynn, y'all.
Yes,
Clap it up for Lynn.
And totally Randy. I don't know where she went, but she's here with, she's the national social media correspondent for Black Press USA. And I'm pointing them out for a reason, because within the spaces that I've been in because of leadership or also being a journalist myself, one of the biggest things that I've told people in the newsroom and eToro as well, not only have your hobbies, not only understand that you're more than the work that you do, but your mental health, okay? Because, when I talk to journalists, I'm like, hey, what did you do for fun? Oh, let me tell you about this byline. No, I don't want to hear about your byline. I want to know, what did you do for fun? Do you have a way, you have an outlet, right? Whether it's therapy, whether it's, music. I know music is a huge thing for me. I live with bipolar disorder, so that's something that I've always been an advocate for, and really speaking up on the different ways that you can get treatment without having to use medication. Now, a lot of people would look at me and hear me and be like, you need medication. But no, I'm good on that. I know how to manage my triggers and everything else that comes with it. But I think the beauty of me being in the spaces that I've been in, I've been able to show, younger women, or I've been able to work with people who have been in this industry for years, for them to see me do the things that I do, talk about the things that I talk about, as well as be very vocal about your mental health. Self-care is just not 2 trigger words, right? That's actually something you should be doing consistently. Like, there's something in your routine every single day that could actually pour back into you. And within these jobs today, if you don't take care of yourself, they're not looking out for you, And if you got benefits, you got every right to use those benefits to make sure that you have access to a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Know the difference, because I've had at one point in my life all 3. That's how serious things were in my life. But at the same time, we don't hear a lot of people talk about that angle of being very vulnerable and honest about the things that we've had to deal with. And then we work in news. Let me get to this point and I'm done. We work in news right now, and under the administration that we work under, you cannot tell me that this stuff is not triggering and that you're not having certain mood swings or episodes when someone says something in your newsroom or within the spaces that you're working. I know me. That's why I'm not working in these spaces right now, because I would be cussing somebody out, even if it's with people that look like me, right? But to be honest with you, in understanding that, find ways to take care of yourself. I don't want to continue to hear about fellow journalists who neglect their health, overall health. We've seen a couple of more recent journalists pass away because of health issues, Black men, because they have not gone to be seen by doctors. Oh, you've got to get this next story. You've got to get this next hit. Baby, you can't get that if you dead. So to me, I think it's really paying attention to your body, listening to your gut, understanding that if something doesn't feel right, you don't need to cover that story. You might have to pass up on that sometimes, and it's okay, because another opportunity will come. And if it doesn't come, something will open up to where you can create your own space. I've seen it. I like it's like you can do it. But I think the biggest thing is mental health. That's just something that I've always talked to anybody that I've worked with or within the spaces that I've worked with. Sometimes I'm like, we're working on something. I'm like, hey, let's go do something fun real quick, and then we can come back and we can edit. eToro will tell you I've had him in some random places in Atlanta because we will be stressed out editing or working on something. I'd be like, hey, let's go to Cheetah real quick. But I'll end that story right there.
No, thank you. She did. When we came to do a sightseeing for this event, she took me out for ice cream. That was the best day. I love me some ice cream. So you got to have stuff that makes you happy. So this is my last question for you all until we open it up to the audience. So get y'all questions ready. This panel is called Successful Black Women in News. Do you feel like you're successful? Why or why not?
Absolutely, I think that I'm successful because I'm living my dreams. Like, it may not be perfect, but I'm alive, I'm well, and I'm trying. And so there's still more possibility to tomorrow. I've done more than I ever imagined. When I first set my goals, they was way too small. I wanted to be an award-winning journalist. Okay, I did that 10 years ago. So now you gotta just dream bigger and dream louder. And now I can own a company that creates and houses award-winning journalists. It don't just have to be me. It don't have to just stop with me. There's more people coming behind me. If it's the people that I work with, the people that get to work at my company, or just the mentors or the mentees that I have. I have a whole group chat of just young people that I meet along the way, and I'm just spamming them every day with opportunities because there is opportunity out here. And what I learned coming up is that so many people do not apply. They literally do not apply for opportunities because they don't think that they're qualified. But if there's only a few people in the bucket, they got to pick somebody, and it might just be you. So half of the battle is just applying yourself and trusting that God has a plan for you. And if he wants you to be there, he's going to make it so. So I think that that's what makes me successful, is that every day I'm trying to be better, and I know I'm always doing my best. Every single day I'm doing my best, even if, like you said, I just go back to bed. That's my best for the day.
That was a really good question, by the way. I would say year 5, at least consistently, I do feel successful. I always say, like, you can retire from a job, but you can't retire from purpose. And I definitely feel like the work that I do, it's not work that I want to retire from. So I do feel successful from a purposeful standpoint. And also, too, I feel like, stories can obviously amplify issues, and also people. So I know I've had people say, like, a story that was covered maybe help them get more customers, help them get an investor, help them get someone on their team. So that's been, like, one of the most fulfilling things of journalism, is also knowing, like, in the process of being purposeful, it's helped other people, like, push forward in their purpose too. So yeah, I feel really successful, and we're all killing it, by the way. So yeah.
I'm gonna answer this, I think, in 2 ways. Yes, there's a part of me that is, yes, I'm grateful for the journey that I've been on, and I'm grateful for the things that I've been able to accomplish. But there are so many more things that I want to do. And until I'm able to reach those milestones, that's when I'll say success. So I've had success in my life. I've seen really great things happen, but I'm not done yet. And so that is where I think I will reach success, once I am able to reach the goals that I have, not just for myself professionally, but personally. And a lot of what you said holds true. And I think my purpose is making sure that I'm creating space for others to be successful, for others to be brought along the way, and then do the same. It's just I think it just brings me so much joy to be able to help other people. And so until I'm able to be in a position where I am making the autonomous decisions on the yeses, on the nos, on the check, on the size of the check, I will not give up. And so, yes, there has been success, but I'm not finished.
I love that. You asked that, and I know I am successful. Now, let me lead with that. Let me just start there. But there's a success story in here right now. She doesn't know I'm going to point her out, but Karima Hanifa is sitting right there next to eToro. Raise your hand. And Karima is someone who I met randomly while working as a comm strategist for a national nonprofit of lawyers. A lot of people don't really realize I actually have a background in law, right? A lot of legal stuff. And when I joined, one of the first things that I got to work on was a rights restoration project. And Karima happened to be a part of an organization here in Atlanta that was working on getting former incarcerated people their right to vote and things like that, and educating people on why they should have their right to vote. Well, I remember talking to her. I remember hearing her story. And I remember seeing this woman be so passionate about what she wanted to do and how she wanted to tell people about it. And then she hit me with, no one will cover my story. No one will hear me out. And one of the first things I did, I don't know if she remembers this, I called the Atlanta Voice. I said, the Atlanta Voice will be at your door the very next day. Sure enough, the editor-in-chief sent somebody over, did her story, wrote it. Next thing you know, Capital B called. Capital B covered her story. Next thing you know, the AJC picked up a portion of Capital B's story and amplified it because they have a partnership. And a lot of people don't realize, for a lot of Black media, what helps amplifies our stories are those allies or those other media outlets that can help amplify those things. Well, we just celebrated this year her first time voting in the state of Georgia. And you cannot tell me that it wasn't because of me sitting in a room with her, hearing her story, and understanding the power of not only just Black press, but Black media, me being a Black journalist, and me actually knowing how to work those rooms and figuring out who we needed to partner with to amplify her story. It was Capital B that followed her for the day when she went to go register to vote. It was Capital B that followed her to make sure that she could cast her vote in case there was any issues in this state, because we know what we're dealing with. And by the way, we've got midterms coming up. Please make sure you're registered to vote. And please, if you have any issues, reach out to the Atlanta Voice. They will cover it. Thank you. But to my point, that's the work. That's what we're supposed to do. That's how we're supposed to show up for people. And to this day, if Karima calls me and I'm gonna make sure that she gets it. So I can say that I'm successful because one of my biggest successful stories is sitting right there. Like, that's it. And I'm proud of that. Like, and I think the beauty of that is also, personally speaking, I know I'm successful because I've been able to get married in this city, get divorced happily in this city, have children in this city, and still keep my head on swivel in the midst of all that while maintaining my own career. So I think that there's just so much more than the work that we do, but to build the relationships, to kind of still be connected to people that you've previously worked with and be in alignment with people, no matter what rooms you've been in, that's success to me. Because a lot of people would be timid in some of the spaces that I've been in, and I've shown up loud, I've shown up wrong sometimes, and people would let me be wrong and then tell me on the side, okay, you can't do that no more. But I've learned, and I think having humility and being able to understand where you can show up and how you can do that is what has consistently made me successful. So yeah, Karima, thank you for being here. I love you.
I want to shout out the Atlanta Voice. I remember when I was press secretary for Mayor Bottoms, we had some very hard days at the beginning of her administration, some very, very hard days. But I remember anytime I used to call Marshall. Yes. That's good grief. When I used, I know. Anytime I would call Marshall, he would never turn me down. There were so many days when I had journalists. They have, so in the mayor's office, it's a little different now, but there used to be an office where the journalists would come and work for the day right outside of the comms door. And we had some particular reporters who would come every single day just snooping around, looking for something to be wrong, all the time. You remember, we used to, but anytime we would call the Atlanta Voice, we could finally get a story out. We could finally get her voice out into the world. We could finally make sure that really balanced narratives were making it into the community, but it was because of that relationship. And I really want to say thank you to the Atlanta Voice. You all are part of my success story because press secretaries got a lot of responsibility on your shoulders, and part of that is getting good press, is in the name. And so without the Atlanta Voice, I did not know in the beginning of my time and my journey with that type of role, I don't know where I would be.
Say one thing that's making me tear up, y'all. Marshall is no longer here with us. If you don't know that, he passed away. He was part of the reason why I came back to the Atlanta Voice to help kind of right the ship, because at the time there was so much going on. Kia is here. Kia has been down like 4 flats over here. She has maintained and done all of the things, and I appreciate you, Kia, for welcoming me back at that time, because that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever endured. Losing a friend, losing a colleague, knowing that part of the reason why Marshall made sure that you could do your job was because Marshall was tired of how a Black woman was being represented in this city politically. And I think it just speaks to the fact that somebody can speak his name. And I already was praying to him, telling him, thank you for opening doors for those of us that came in here at the time that we did, to be able to do what we were doing. And for you to say his name is everything. And that means so much to people like me and Etoro, because we came in this door like ready. We were like a gang, yes. And so I'm super grateful that you mentioned him. And again, a lot of us owe so much to the Atlanta Voice, and that's why it's so important that no matter what rooms I'm in or where I'm talking, the Atlanta Voice is going to always come up no matter what, you know. And then I'm going to talk about the other 200 some odd number of newspapers, but Atlanta Voice is going to come first. Yeah.
I think it's time for me to almost start crying. Sierra, you start speaking, I'm like, I'm feeling it, and y'all just keep going. Damn, man. Success. I'm gonna let, if Lynn didn't leave, I'm gonna let her ask her question, but I can't believe it. Something I thought of out of my head. Something I thought of out of my head. Because I saw a gap. I hated how they covered us. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would make a room. Man, I don't want to cry. Y'all don't know how, y'all probably do know, man. This ain't easy. Believing in yourself when nobody believes in you, when there ain't no money in your account, when you just putting yourself out there because you just want to give good to the world. And I still feel like I don't do enough. So I just want to say thank y'all all for coming. And we got to be there for each other. We have to be there for each other. Thank you so much. Because we all we got. They try to put us against each other, whether we journalists or not. As Black people, they try to put us against each other. This room is not just for media people. This for us. We got to keep going for ourselves and for others. And so thank y'all. Yes, I do feel successful, but I promise y'all, this is just the beginning. Atlanta, y'all welcomed me in since I was 15. We just getting started. And so thank y'all for coming. And I'd like to open it up to the audience for like 3 or 4 questions. So if anybody got a question, you know, just raise your hand. India, it was Afia, would you mind helping with the mic? I can't walk in these hills no more. Y'all keep that one. I'll get this one. Afia, go around this way. And before y'all leave, I would love to take pictures with people, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is India Rice. I am a Clark Atlanta 2024 graduate, journalism program, and a recent NYU graduate, class of 2025. Yes. Thank you so much. And I also used to work with Nyesha. Still do. That's my girl. Like, God bless her. Thank God for, you know, everything you're doing. It's amazing. And my question pertains to having authority. As someone who I just got my master's and I'm really entering like my first big girl job and learning and finding my way. And I want to know, as women who've talked about the corporate lifestyle and talked about just like having your voice and having your own authority, how do you manage to advocate for the things that you want in your career and making sure people know that you have a direction and a vision for where you want your career to go? But also, how do you advocate for yourself in rooms where there might be certain pushbacks or things that you have to advocate for yourself for without seeming like the angry black woman or seeming like you're just pulling it out of your behind? Like, how are you making sure that you get what you need out of your workplace?
Okay, I can start this question off. So I'll answer the first part. I think consistency matters. So often your work shows up before you do, and so I think that continuing to maintain a consistent body of work, consistent practice in your behavior, how you show up, I think that's very, very important. And so I'm not sure what journey and what you're pursuing, but in anything that you're doing, make sure that you're being consistent. And then the second thing that I would say in terms of advocacy for yourself in a space, that does take some practice. I'm not even going to sit up here and lie to you. It takes time to get confidence in certain rooms. But the one thing that I will tell you to do is make sure that you understand the room that you're in before you show up any old kind of way. A lot of people are like, don't shrink, don't do this. You just be your whole self. All right, you be your whole self outside the room the next time. And because you've not read the room the right way. And so I look at myself as a person who is layers. There are many facets to Nikki. I've got the ability to go into a boardroom, or I can go over to the corner with my homies, right? And I can there's a code switch that happens on a day-to-day basis. But the biggest thing I can tell you is that I am acutely aware of who's in the room that I'm in when I'm speaking up and what they're thinking about. I understand my audience, and that's something I think as journalists that you all have to do. You got to read the room, understand who you are talking to, and know how to ask the questions and deliver your responses in a way that's going to likely resonate with that group of people. Sometimes you don't get that opportunity. So it does take time to build up that confidence to do that. But just start practicing. Put yourself out there in uncomfortable spaces where you might not normally spend your time, or around people that you may not normally spend your time with. The world they need us. But sometimes we have to be the ones to go through the door. We have to be the ones to put ourselves out there, and it's uncomfortable. It gets hard. I'm not even going to sit there and hold you. But I will say that over time, it does get a little bit easier. You find your voice. You figure out how to walk into those rooms with a lot more confidence. But the only way that I can say that you can do that is to keep doing it. It's not something that just like, whoop, I woke up one morning and I had it all together. Maybe you did, and God bless you for that person. But for me, I will say, for me in my house, it took time. It took time, but I just had to keep putting myself into these spaces, but understanding who I was talking to and how what I was saying was going to resonate with them.
I have something on the pitching angle. I think one of the things, and I talk about Miss Ware a lot, but Miss Ware, who's the publisher here at the Atlanta Voice, she would be in some of our editorial meetings, and we would pitch some things that she wasn't comfortable with or she didn't understand. And we would have to come in the room ready to present. I think that you are looking to pitch something, or anytime you are looking to raise awareness on something that you believe in, have numbers at all times. Go see who did it first or who's covered it. If there's a window where there could be coverage on it, I think that generally, if we came in the room and nobody had covered it in the city of Atlanta, was for it. Like, go, like all means, green light. But if somebody else covered it, her next question would be, why are we doing it? What's the point? Tell me the angle. Give me something else. Let me ask you some more questions. And I'm telling you, Ms. Ware is very intimidating when she starts asking those questions. So when coming into a room with a black woman that's sitting in front of you and she's challenging you, oh, I had to learn how to be able to present to her. I had to learn how to walk into the room quietly, not loud like I normally do, and be like, oh, Ms. Ware, I got something for you. Prepared to receive that, right? Point, making sure that you have the data that backs you, and sometimes you're going to hear a no. If you hear a no, do something on the side that kind of proves like, okay, we covered it this way, this was your way, but here's another angle. Give me another opportunity to do it this way too. And I'm telling you, most times if we had that opportunity to show Ms. Ware something, that's what went viral every time. And that was just because we covered it both ways, or we did two different ways. Like we did a video here, or we only did a written story here, right? The video went viral. Okay, now we got to add more videos to our stories, right? So to me, data and numbers is what helps build your advocacy, because you're able to walk into those rooms and know, I've already done the research. I've already looked into this. I can tell you what's probably going to work. And even if it doesn't work in the moment, at least we did it too. Or at least we led the conversation on whatever it is that I want to pitch.
Can you get that mic and bring it up? Can you just speak loudly? Sorry, this one went out.
No, it's working now. No, we good. You can take it back, sweetie.
Thank you so much. Hi, my name is Danielle Reed. I am one of the journalists that pivoted into PR about 8 years ago. I have a PR and events company called Reed Limited Entertainment, also known as RLE. My question is, because as publicists and those who do PR in the room, pitching is very strategic, could you each go down the row and share what your beats are? What topics and things do you cover in case someone here wants to pitch a story for you? And if you don't have a platform or an outlet, what types of interviews or clients do you represent in case anyone here has a story or a book they might want to pitch?
Oh, I like how you did that. That's what's up. I like that. I know for me, because I've said this multiple times, Black Press USA is the digital newsroom for all of the Black newspapers across the country. So if you were to pitch something to Black Press USA and we run it, 9 times out of 10, whatever market that story is technically around or in, that local newspaper is going to pick that up. Most times what we see from that, if a local newspaper picks it up, 9 times out of 10, they're going to follow up on that story and find a direct contact. So that helps you build a database. And one of the biggest things that I just always lead with is that the Black press is always needing our stories. We are quick to go to more mainstream outlets and say, oh, well, it's going to give us more visibility. You all do not realize how many rooms I've been in. I can say The Guardian. I can say MSNBC at the time. Now it's MS Now, whatever. I can say CNN. And some of these bigger mainstream outlets are looking at local newspapers and local media outlets for stories. They're not even original most times, but because they are the bigger media outlets, they'll probably get a direct contact that will give them an interview. So I'm just gonna single-handedly just say, pitch Black Press USA, pitch the Atlanta Voice, pitch whatever Black newspaper that you can find in your area, and start there and build a relationship with the local media. And then I guarantee you eventually national media is gonna grab that story because they see it. They do see us. They know we exist. I've seen it from Seattle to Sacramento, California, to doing work in Texas, down all the way to New Mexico. There's a Black newspaper in New Mexico. I found that out. So to me, I know that they're going to pick up our stories because I've been in those rooms and I've seen it.
I got to say something that, you know how many stories I done got stolen with no credit? Is ridiculous. Ridiculous. I have broken stories from my apartment. And these other big companies have recovered Carvd and Stone, my words, and have not credited me. So shout out to Sammy for being one of the first people, and that's in 2026, to credit Carvd and Stone. That's crazy. But to your point, though, we only cover positive news at Carvd and Stone, so we do all beats: health, education, entertainment. Now, just because you got a business does not mean we're going to cover it. Just because you're doing something does not mean anyone is going to cover it. The biggest thing is learn how to pitch. Learn how to pitch. And just like Nikki said, know your audience. What I may cover is something Sammy may not cover. That doesn't mean I think it's any less important. It's just my platform. And so what we look for is, okay, you may start a business, but how are you giving back to the community? How long have you been around? Is this an evergreen story, or are you just trying to get us to cover an event? We don't necessarily do event coverage, but we do, like I said, the evergreen stories. Sammy's looking more for tech. Sierra might just want to interview a black woman and the business open. So we're all looking for different things. So study the organizations that you're in. Because I am my own publicist. The root was here. So we got covered, and I'm getting my own news company covered nationally. We've been in Essence because not only am I building relationships with people, but I gave Essence 15 reasons why they should cover me. I was like, if y'all don't like that one, we got this one. Y'all don't like that one, we got this one. Y'all don't like, and I just did a whole list of things. But I needed to do that for Essence because that was my first national story. If you're trying to go national, do you have any local coverage first? Do you know any of your journalists? Are you inviting them when you just want them to be around, or are you only inviting them when you need coverage? How are you building these relationships? Because if you know how many times somebody was like, I love what you're doing. Hey, how you doing? And then 5 minutes later, I want you to cover me. Oh, you didn't miss me, baby. You should have just started that you wanted me to cover your story. And that's totally fine. Know your audience, because I'm quick to say no. But I love covering stuff too. I'm be like, yes, nah. But also, just because we said no to this one story doesn't mean we're going to say no again to that same story, or it may be another pitch. So just because you're told no that one time, just figure something else. Sorry, y'all, my hand's a little,
So my team at Amazon, we work across the entirety of the business. And so if you have interest in covering anything related to Amazon, whether that's AWS, whether it's our retail business, so that's everything from fashion, food, to books, and all of the above operations. If you want to take a tour of an Amazon facility, come see me about that too. Yeah. And we also cover the entertainment side, so we can put you in touch with people on the entertainment side as well. So if you're interested in anything related to our sports verticals, music verticals, entertainment verticals of any sort, I can get you in touch with those teams.
Look at what you're doing. By accident, girl. I'm sorry I pointed at you. Oh, yeah.
We working.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, it's layered. I want to touch on a couple different things. For me, besides the obvious windows, I'll, maybe emails, or me going out of my way and looking across social media platforms to see what's the latest. So I'm in Houston, so when people invite me out just to meet with entrepreneurs, that's really helpful. Tyrone's did that for me with an amazing founder in Houston named Andrea, who has an art studio. So I've been able to organically get to know about her and her business. Could that potentially lead to a story? Sure. But sometimes just organically meeting with people. And if you're not in Houston, I know I do weekly connection calls every Thursday. So everyone knows if you want to contact me, you can hop on my calendar. So I meet with founders, people in PR, other journalists every Thursday, and we just talk and I get to know people. That's also led to hundreds and hundreds of stories just through that. And then another thing, we don't do event coverage. It has to be purposeful. So my beats are business, technology, Black entrepreneurs, Black people in tech, grants, nonprofits, the business of sports, the business of entertainment, med tech, energy, STEM. And there's probably a little bit more, but you get the general gist. And probably the last thing would be press trips. So I know when it comes to press trips, I know there's a rule that technically if you invite journalists to press trips, they don't have to cover. And while that could be true, if I'm on a press trip, I am covering a story. I wouldn't just go and not cover, but I always make sure, because there's some press trips where they give me the itinerary, there's no Black person involved on the itinerary. So I'm always advocating, okay, we're working on this thing. Was there a Black person on this team? Is there a Black leader? Is there a Black person in technology? And if not, that is an issue. So that's another form of advocacy. So if it is a press trip, I hope it's something that's Black centered or has Black people that I can actually pull from an interview. So that's another thing that I look for. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm with AfroTech. Yeah.
Okay. And typing. I worked at Black Enterprise as a social media editor. Yes. So when it comes to pitching me, when I was at Black Enterprise, a lot of our articles focused on Black business, Black culture. So I got a lot of pitches for that. And I think there's a lot of value in pitching. I like to read and respond to all my emails as best as possible just to continue to have that relationship. But I also think when you're pitching, you need to know who you're pitching. I don't want a pitch that you got sent to every single person. Read some of my past stories, understand my tone and how I approach stuff. So when you do approach me, it's a little bit more organic than I saw you just randomly reaching out, because then I'm just looking at this like I'm not covering that. So I think, but another thing, journalists are very busy. And so there is a relationship, and I need information, especially if you work at like a TV station and other platforms. Like, the speed of the news cycle is kind of different. And so kind of knowing the role of the person that you're reaching out to, we're journalists, we love free stuff. So, if you can give us a lunch or something, and take us out and show us a good time, that could probably help get us a little relationship, a little $20 lunch, coffee, get me out the office. That's how you build relationships. When it's kind of like, we're here for business, but I also get to learn about who you are as a person. So I think like building relationships is still like the number one way. So when it comes to Watch Me Win, the type of stories that we want to cover is we cover underrepresented voices in sports, politics, and business. So if you have a person who you think their story should be amplified, they have something to say, then definitely reach out to me, because I would love to cover it. Thank you. Hey, friend.
Hey, friend. Thank you, ladies, for putting on this panel. This has been amazing. Shout out to Tiara. She is a good friend of mine. I, too, if I remember correctly, back when I was in PR, I have treated Tiara to some one-on-one time at my PR agency. Not in PR anymore, but we had that exchange. But my question for you ladies is, well, I'm Kara Willis. I'm a reporter. I'm an anchor. Broadcast experience, print experience, currently in Houston at Community Impact Newspaper. My question for you guys is, what was your it moment where you said, I need to make a change in my organization and how I'm covering XYZ? Was there anything that happened where you were that just said, you know what, I'm not like this, I'm not about this, this doesn't represent me, I'm gonna make the pivot and do better? If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense. To me, I feel like it was really like listening to my voice. Like, a lot of times, if you're like sensitive enough to your own self, you will kind of know when a story is happening. So when it comes to like the Turkey Leg Hut in Houston, there was a lot of things that was happening. And like, I drove by one time and I was like, I wonder what they about to do with this. Or like, it was something like a question I had, and I'm like, but I didn't take it the step further. The next week she dropped like this 5-part series about what happened, and I'm like, I knew it was time to tell the story. So really just learning how to be very sensitive to yourself, so you can pick up on those things, that so you don't miss a story, And so I have been in a room and I wanted to ask a question, and I was too scared to ask it, because I'm like, somebody else gonna ask that question, and I missed out on some of the best opportunities because I was just too afraid to just ask a simple question. And so I think that I really take not speaking up and not listening to myself even more strongly now. So now I'm like remembering those type of moments, so I can always try to stand up and speak for myself.
Because I'm the queen of pivot. I mean, if I'm ready to go, if I'm done, if my service here has been served, I know I've been able to leave the Atlanta. I've been able to come to Atlanta Voice, leave. I've been able to come back because we understood like the mission and the purpose to keep the paper in a certain direction after Marshall passed. Also, working in sports media, I knew it was time for me to be done, because I started seeing how more bloggers, in a sense, were using media, in a sense, for like rage bait, right? Like, I'm gonna say something just outrightly wrong because I know it's gonna get me views, and then I know I'm gonna go viral, and then I'm gonna compound on that. I'm gonna keep going. And I remember, I hate this brand, I hate this company, so I'm just gonna say it. Barstool Sports reached out to me one time, and I knew then it was time for me to get up out of here. Because what was I doing at that time that made you feel comfortable to reach out to somebody like me, knowing my platform and how I use my platform, for you to offer me that much money, because the zeros were there, to then say, we know that you have been working. We know that you're trying to sell your company at the time. We want to offer you a position with us. And I flat out told him, you can go yourself. Flat out. Like, to this day, I don't regret that. But I do know in that moment, I realized you're done. You're done with sports media right now. What you're supposed to do at this point is figure out what that next pivot is. And it was technically to sell, a portion of the company. And then it was also the people that I opened doors for. Majority of them are either working at ESPN or SEC Network right now. Majority of them are working in local big media outlets or what have you, where they're covering sports on the sidelines or in arenas and stuff. Like those people came through my sports media company. And so me realizing at any time, trusting my gut, my gut is always loud, okay? If I feel off about anything, I will walk away. Ask my ex-husband, it's time for me to go. All right, I will exhaust all opportunities. I will meet you at the counselor, but if you don't meet me halfway, if you don't meet me at the conference table, if you don't have a better number for me salary-wise, I am out. And I have always stood on that. Most people, they'll look at me, they'll be like, well, you can do that. And I'm like, no, you can find what that looks like for you. But I think because I show up the way that I do, or I have been able to pivot and still be successful in all that I've done, people are like, oh, well, maybe I am doing something for too long. Maybe I do need to make a change or do a transition. Maybe I do need to go get another skill set to kind of add to this. Because for a lot of people, they have always told me, who said it, that they was afraid to be in front of the camera? Sammy? Girl, as much as I look good and I know it, I don't like being in front of the camera. I don't like talking in front of the camera because I know something gonna come out that's gonna be wrong. That's why I didn't last in broadcast, right? But knowing that was a pivot. That was a pivot moment. I did it for a while. I did sideline reporting. And then I think it was something happened on one of the plays and I said, oh, did y'all see that shit? Yeah, I quit that day. So it was just like, you don't have to send me home. I'll leave. But the very next day, I created a sports media blog or a sports blog that turned into a sports media company within one football season. And I had 10 top big conference schools reach out to me to work with their athletic departments to do storytelling for them directly. So I made money immediately after having that faux pas moment, right? But then I stood in that to say, okay, that's not my lane, but this is, right? So, I mean, just if you feel the calling, just start with Tierra, like what she was saying about do your own thing. If you're doing your own thing on the side, nobody can stop you with that. Read your contract first, because I will say that, because some places will say if you do stuff during their time or on their dime or on their camera, on their laptops, that is their copyrighted information and content. So let me just throw that disclaimer out there. But outside of that, if you can create with your phone, you pay that bill. They can't come for that. If you go work with a friend and y'all do stuff together, create that content together. Do that on the side and see where it takes you. And most times when you do bet on yourself, most times, in my opinion, you end up winning eventually.
I feel like we're gonna have one last question. We got you. My pivot, I had two of them. Right when I graduated my senior year of college, the first paper, I got $50 for my first article in journalism, and they had offered me an urban reporter job. I said, oh, no, urban? Who urban? I feel like I was already putting in the box. And so I immediately was like, no. And I actually was in Georgia, and I was staying at someone's house, and I remember being on a balcony, and I literally said no to a job. And then another one was a producer job. I ain't never did broadcast. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. But the biggest pivot I feel like I had was in 2019. I was an assistant editor of a black-owned newspaper in Milwaukee. I think it was, 2021? I don't know. I used to be in the club editing the newspapers, y'all. No, we'll get there. We'll get there another day. But I remember that I found out that the stipend I was receiving was $500 less than the white person who had the position before me, and this was a black-owned newspaper. So they said by the time I got my degree, I would get more pay. That never happened, and they didn't even want to give me the additional $500 they just gave to the position I just took. So I met with the owner of the newspaper. That meeting lasted about 5 minutes before I walked out. He came in there and he said, we're not going to give you the raise, and we also want to use Carvd and Stone's content for free. This is in 2019. My company had only been around for 2 years. I was trying to go the traditional route. I visited Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNN, all these people. I'm mailing my resume. You can have it digitally. I'm showing you all of these things. I bought Wall Street Journal to Milwaukee, and none of these people want to hire me. And you're telling me you don't want to give me extra pay? It ain't even extra pay. You was just paying this person. It was $500. that you was already giving a white person. And on top of that, you wanted my content. So I said no, and I got up. He said, this is why nobody want to work with you. And I never been back. Last question, Afia, right there.
You all hear me? Yeah. Okay. Hi, ladies. My name is Reagan Farley. I'm a publicist as well. What are some better ways that we can work together from a journalist and PR perspective?
Oh, let me start. Please stop inviting journalists to events and we can't get interviews. I am sick of it. Y'all invite us there an hour early, tell us to check in. Hold on, the event don't start till 7 o'clock. You want me here at 4:30. Ain't no food, ain't no water, ain't no room. And then y'all have all these media come and we stacked up like this. You get one question. Excuse me, my 10 years got to be put down to one question. Why did you invite me here? For your numbers, or did you really want me to cover your story? So please, from the bottom of my heart, do not approve my credentials if you do not want me getting interviews.
I haven't touched on this, but I think y'all know my energy by now. But I feel like some of y'all have to bully these people to do their jobs. And when I say bully, I don't mean be mean and tear them down and be nasty, because you're not going to get anywhere with that, okay? I'm not like that. Okay. What I mean is, if you know you pitched to an outlet, right, and you've pitched to them multiple times and they're not replying to you, tag them publicly. Hey, I'm trying to get you to cover this, that, and the third. Can we get some coverage? Find a journalist, tag them. Hey, I know you work here. I just saw something that you covered that's similar to my client. This is about community. Let me tell you something. The local media owes it to the community for coverage. I was just at, where is Randy? Where are you? Like, Randy ain't here? She not in here. I just covered the National Symposium for Sickle Cell. Is that right? I think so. Here, they had a whole symposium here. I didn't even know that they hosted that convention and conference here in the city of Atlanta. Let's start there. That's number one. In that entire room, there were multiple stories from various advocates in that room, in that space. One in particular got up and shared parts of her story because they had a media panel, and one person asked, how can we pitch our story to the media? That person proceeded to tell me that it was like an NFL player or two that they were trying to get connected to their foundation because they work with sickle cell families and all of the things. I said, oh, you want me to call that person right now? I FaceTime both of them. I said, hey, this person is going to email you and they're going to reach out to you and they need to get their story out. Sure enough, before we even left, their PR people had reached out to them before we walked out of that room. And I had to tell them, hey, you want to know why they answered the phone? Because if I sat in that room and I heard that those two NFL players did not make sure that those stories were covered or that their foundation overlooked those stories, they knew I was going to blast them online. And sometimes you have to just be that person, because if you're in PR, you're technically an advocate for your client. Okay, so if you've got to find a way to do that, please just don't say Dawn said I need to tag everybody and cuss them out and blah, blah, blah. No, that's not what I'm saying. Tag everybody, consistently get in their DMs or their inboxes because they're online. They're looking at that stuff. And if you can't do it that way, find somebody that has a platform. I would tell people in any rooms that I'm in, if you need to tag me in something and you want to amplify that, you better give me free range to say what I'm going to say, because they're not doing what they're supposed to do as media, because it is our job to tell those stories. It is our job to bring awareness to things. It is our job to amplify those things. So I just say bully them a little bit. That's just me.
I was gonna say maybe I'm a softie, but y'all can just like send me a note. I feel like on LinkedIn. Keep it cute. But I will say, like I said, for me, it's the connection calls. Like, even for people in PR, I wish, and if y'all know something, let me know. I wish there was a way that I could keep up with like everyone's clients, like everybody that you have. I really do. But at the very least, what I can do is I like checking in with people. Sometimes I'll initiate, sometimes they will, and I'll just learn about, okay, what's new under the sun, how's life, blah, blah, blah. And I also learn about like what clients they have, and see if maybe there could be potential synergy. I don't have final say on like what goes up, like my editor does. But I feel like as a journalist, I'm very big on like we should be accessible to the communities that we're serving and are covering. And we also should be accessible to our community, so we should respond to emails, we should respond to notes and all the things too. Because I also feel like we probably miss out on like so many stories when we are not accessible, and I'm just really passionate about that. So I would say connection calls for me, and like I'm always on social media, I'm always on like LinkedIn, Twitter, like I'm always trying to see like what's new under the sun too. So like that visibility does matter too. And also too, everyone, y'all have my email. Like I feel like, you know what I mean? So really you can like email. And some people will tag me on LinkedIn on stuff that I should be paying attention to, or like, hey, did you see this? So for me, that really personal approach, it does help. So, and I'm pretty accessible, like I said.
And make sure y'all get all of our emails afterwards, okay?
What was the question?
Between PR and journalists.
Yeah, I think that they touched on a lot of the good points. Is like, we are real people, you know. We need information, but we wanted to make sure that's impactful. So also think about the news cycle and why is it important right now? You know, because we have to sell it to somebody else. It's not really always up to us. So you really have to tell me in a few sentences why this is important right now. Because as a journalist, I'm covering like 6, 7 stories. So to make yours go to the top of the list and for me to advocate for your story, I need to know why this is important right now and what message I can bring back to the team to help elevate that. So you really got to be clear on why you want us to cover it right now so we can be able to best get it through the door.
One last thing, make sure that your client is media trained too. Because if we get them in front of our camera and we are struggling through the first question, they're gonna probably look at the PR person or the media contact that reach out and say, hey, I'm not gonna be able to do it, right? And then guess what? The next time you try to pitch something on behalf of any other client, they're probably not going to respond to you because of their previous experience. And I mean, this goes back to what she's saying of knowing the audience, knowing the people who are doing whatever. It's as simple as just them knowing their own story and how they can get that across within 2 minutes. It's that simple. You got to go through and ask a journalist to work with you, because a lot of us will be willing to help people and their clients, especially if you're paying for media training. We don't mind being in those rooms or helping out or being on Zoom to do that. I think I've heard that multiple times where somebody was so ready or was being attacked, you know, or reached out by a PR person for a client, and by the time they put a camera in front of that client in particular, it went downhill. That person was not prepared. That person wasn't ready. And so if you can do that too, then I think that will help you have better relationships with some of the media people that you're reaching out to.
Well, I guess that's a wrap. I want to say thank y'all.
Go
ahead, Sammy. Hold on, wait, y'all. Hold on, wait. Go ahead, Sammy.
I was gonna add one more thing. I know there's like several people in here who have emailed me or have played the long game. I would also say for PR to journalists, the long game too. Like I know Reagan, you invited me to that one event at Essence like a couple years back, like for like that casual, you know, it was an intimate dinner. I mean, it didn't lead to a story then, but like 2 years later it did, because I remembered the insights that I learned from something that she had invited me to. And later on, I was able to pull some of that for a story that I ended up covering 2 years later. And even at Essence Fest this year, I wasn't as Essence covering. I didn't formally cover. I was just there as a human. And then I just connected with some people there. And so another publicist had connected me with somebody by the name of Dr. Cynthia Smith. She has a STEAM Academy in Jacksonville, Florida. So I just connected with her organically and like talked to her, and like her story just went live today on AfroTech, you know? So sometimes you just like never know, just being organic and like playing the long game.
I know we're about to close.
You good.
I'm not going to be able to stay much longer. So if you are interested in getting in touch with me, I will share my information right now, if that's okay, Nyesha.
Y'all get ready.
My email address is N as in Nancy, ICO, F as in Frank, ORM @Amazon.com. Nico Form, NICO FORM @Amazon.com.
And please do not just be sharing her email with anybody. Y'all keep it for yourselves. Only reach out if y'all really have something to say. But I want to thank y'all so much. Again, my name is Nyesha Stone. I've been running Carvd and Stone. It'll be 10 years, January 21st of 2027. Thank you so much. This is only the beginning. I do have an ask for you all. As an independent Black media company, we are always looking for funding. We honestly didn't get any sponsors for this event. So if you go back home and if you know potential people who want to fund something like this, I'm asking you to introduce them to me. And also for the brands in here, Zillow, We looking for some more brand partnerships. So please reach out to me, stop me, and thank y'all so much. And please be safe and network until it's time to go.
In the end, everything will be carved in stone.